Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar tonight. I'm Emily Wallace, the CEO from Thrive Fit Coaching, and I am a certified CrossFit trainer, a precision nutrition coach, a conditioning coach, and a sleep coach. So I cover all the bases. And I really have a strong emphasis in my practice on education, and I absolutely love to introduce clients and members of the community to other professionals in the field that are focused on nutrition, sleep, health, wellness, functional fitness, anything that makes us feel good and helps us take care of ourselves. So I'm glad you joined me tonight. We have our guest speaker tonight is Marianne Stockhauser, who's a registered dietitian. She's going to be talking to us on a topic that is always popular, which is fad diets, and she's going to walk us through kind of what some of the popular ones are, pros and cons, and I will turn the hosting over to her. Okay, sent you the link.
Perfect. You. So that's all good to go? Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. Thank you, Emily, for the introduction. I do really appreciate your time. It is lots to cover, so we're gonna dive right in. So welcome, this is Dieting 101. And like Emily said, my name is Marianne Stockhauser, and I am a registered dietitian. So this kind of means that dietitians are the nutrition experts. So if you ever get nutrition advice from like a nutritionist or from your Facebook feed or Google, you don't know 100% sure if what they are giving is going to be accurate or if it's going to help your health or harm your health. So you always want to make sure you see the letters RD next to people's names. So I do have my own private practice, Marianne's Answer, where I do a lot of individual personalized nutrition counseling, lunch and learns, and webinars just like this. I also have a weekly nutrition blog and recipe of the month, where I kind of take a favorite recipe and put a healthy spin on it. So I can give you my information at the end if you're interested in any of that. So for today's topics, we are going to go over the pros and cons of fad diets. You don't even know like that term fad diet. So according to Wikipedia, a fad diet is a diet that is popular for a certain length of time, often promising unreasonably fast weight loss or health improvements by detoxifying or restricting your food choices. So today we're going to cover 3 different of fad diets. We're going to cover the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, and the paleo diet. So I would be surprised if you haven't heard of at least one of those before. So first we're going to dive all into, I think, the most popular one, the ketogenic diet, commonly known as the keto diet. So what is it? Okay, the keto diet is when you're kind of focusing on eating a high amount of fat and a very low amount of carbohydrates or carbs. So at least 80% of your total calories are coming from fat. There's a total of 40 to 60 grams of carbs for the whole day, and a smaller, like 1 gram of protein for your body weight per kilogram. So just to give you some perspective on what that kind of all means, the average diet has 20 to 35% of your total calories coming from fat, and the keto diet has 80% of your calories coming from fat. So your body kind of breaks down and uses energy differently on a keto diet versus a typical diet. So on a typical diet, your body uses energy from something like bread, pasta, so from a carb. So the bread or carbs break down into something called glucose and is absorbed in the digestive tract. And then that is stored on the body for fuel, for any type of future, directly for your brain and your central nervous system as needed. So it's on your body, you can use it whenever you're going to need it. If we go to the flip side, in a keto diet, your body uses fuel from something like an avocado. So it uses fuel from fat. So it could be bacon, a fatty meat, avocado, all those are gonna do the same thing in the keto diet. So the avocado or the fat will be broken down into something called ketones. So this is actually where the keto diet gets its name, is because of these ketones, keto. And the fuel is used right away. So that's one real big difference, is on a typical diet, the fuel is stored, where on the keto diet, the fuel is used immediately. So in order to get enough energy for your brain and the rest of your body on a keto diet, your body starts to break down amino acids or our muscles, which causes such a drastic weight loss that a lot of individuals have when they start a ketogenic diet. Okay, so some of the pros of the keto diet. I mean, I'm sure that you've heard several different claims and all this other things, but I'm gonna kind of be here today to show you kind of the science of it all. So some of the pros of the ketogenic diet are that it is used to treat people with epilepsy. So people who aren't responding well to their medication and are having severe seizures can go on the ketogenic diet, and it has been shown to decrease the amount of seizures that they are having. It's also used to treat people with brain tumors, autism, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and traumatic brain injuries. There are numerous studies in the works right now exploring the idea of using keto with a neurological and central nervous system complications. So anything like the conditions I just listed, anything that's affecting with your brain or your nervous system, they're exploring the idea of using keto. So that could be a really good pro of this diet. Another pro is if it's done right, it could potentially decrease the triglyceride levels. So when you get a blood test and it's you have to fast for that blood test, that means that it is testing how much fat is among your body. So it could decrease some of the bad fats and then increase some of the good fats at the same time. So that's really good. It's something that we would want. And it could reduce your risk for heart disease all at the same time. And another pro that we have for the keto diet is that it could potentially help people with who have diabetes help maintain or improve their blood sugar. So people are always poking their fingers, checking their blood to see what levels their sugar's at to maintain it. And if you have diabetes, the ketogenic diet could potentially help you maintain that. So there are some cons, you know, with every good, there's some bad. So there are some cons of the keto diet as well. There seems to be a little bit more cons versus pros, but we can go through all of them that we have here. So during the first 4 to 10 days on the keto diet, you experience something called the keto flu. And this is because your body is getting rid and losing so much sodium, potassium, and extra fluid. And so all of this is causing dehydration because your body is having to make energy from something that's not carbohydrates. So it's not used to it, and it's excreting all the things that you need. So that's why it's called the keto flu, because you're feeling like you have the flu. You're cranky and tired and sore. So that's something that people do experience while going on a keto diet. Other things like fatigue, depression, irritability, headaches, and muscle cramps are really, really common for the first 2 weeks while starting on a keto diet as well. So nutrient deficiencies. This is when you don't have enough of a certain nutrient among your body and it's having negative effects on you. So some of the nutrients that are typically deficient while on the keto diet are calcium, vitamin D, selenium, magnesium, phosphorus, iron, essential fatty acids, and prebiotics. And that's all because you're eliminating grains, beans, peas, and lots of fruit because of the carb or sugar intake that they have. Moving on, so restricting your carbs could potentially cause constipation and have negative effects on your gut as well. I'm a big gut dietitian. The gut is really important. If it's not working right, nothing else in the rest of your body is going to be functioning well. So it's really important to make sure that your gut is feeling good and working good. This is because of the lack of fiber in the diet from eliminating all the grains as well. Moving on, your kidneys might also feel the pain from your body having to break down protein from your muscles to make energy. And so your kidneys kind of get a little bit tired, and this causes you to have high blood pressure. So if you're someone who already has high blood pressure, this is not going to be recommended for you. Also, people who have renal disease or have had a kidney transplant, it's really not recommended for you to be on this diet either, because you could have some complications. So just be aware of that. Next, you might find yourself skipping out on social events to maintain your diet, or you might feel stress connected to food. You might not want to go out and get drinks with the girls on Friday because they're all going to be having pizza and mozzarella sticks, and you can't have those. And so that kind of isolates yourself to be alone and putting more stress on what you're eating and being really hyper aware. So if you are someone who doesn't stick to a diet very long and finds that they're on a diet for 3 days and they're off for 3 days, and on a diet for a week and then off another week, it's very difficult to do the transition of carbohydrates during the keto diet. You can't just not eat any carbs and then the next day eat 6 slices of pizza. Your body's not going to be able to handle it, and you're not going to feel well. You're going to physically get sick. So you do have to transition into having carbs back into your diet. Sometimes people eliminate carbs for so long that when they do start to have carbs back into their diet, they develop something called gluten or glucose sensitivity. So that means that their body doesn't know what to do with it anymore. It's not used to it. And so then they kind of are a lifelong, they can't have those carbohydrates anymore. Another con of the keto diet is the development of insulin resistance, which essentially is just the stepping stones to be developing diabetes. So granted, every single person is different. Every single case is going to be individualized. So some people might benefit from the keto diet and keeping their blood sugar maintained, but some people might take it too extreme and could cause diabetes for themselves. So it depends on the certain case. Back to that yo-yo dieting that we were talking about before, it kind of causes the on, then off, then on, then off, actually results in a loss of bone mass density, which as women, the older we get, the less bone mass that we have. And this can cause fractures, breaks, and even osteoporosis. So keto requires a lot of close monitoring of everything you eat and drink. So that's just something you want to be aware of, is that you're going to start to become hyper aware of what you are eating, what you're doing, and all of that. So there's a lot of meal prepping in the process. So if you're someone who doesn't like to meal prep, then this might not be for you. This could potentially help people stay in control of the amount of food that they are consuming throughout the day and causing weight loss depending on the situation that you have. On the flip side, this could cause a fixation on only thinking and worrying about food all day long, causing disordered eating or eating disorders to develop. So that's kind of like my brief overview of the ketogenic diet. So we're gonna kind of talk onto our next topic of intermittent fasting. So what is it? Intermittent fasting is when you allow yourself to eat and drink during a specific time frame and you fast during the rest of the time. So fasting means when you do not eat or drink anything for a particular time. It kind of depends on the situation, and it depends on what type that you are doing. So next, we're gonna kind of go over the different types of intermittent fasting that is available. So there's the first one, which is alternate day. So this is when one day you eat and drink for 24 hours. You get to do whatever you want. And then the next day, you don't eat or drink for 24 hours. So you're restricted and you don't get to have anything. So it kind of is like an every other day type thing, where one day you get to eat whatever you want, the next day you don't eat at all, next day you eat whatever you want. Next, we have a modified intermittent fasting. So this is when on your days that you are fasting, you only eat about 20% of your daily calorie needs. So you eat a significantly smaller amount of food during those days. And then the next day, you get to have no restrictions at all. So that's what the modified is having, instead of not eating nothing, you get to have a small amount, but then the next day is normal, just as it was. Next, we have the 5-2 diet. So this is a type of modified intermittent fasting. This I think is more common compared to the first two. So this diet consists of having 5 days of like normal, unlimited eating. You don't have to think about anything else. And then you have to have 2 days of the week that are not consecutive or in a row. So you wouldn't want like a Friday, Saturday, or a Monday, Tuesday. It would be more of you want a Wednesday, Sunday type situation, where on those 2 days, you're only eating about 500 calories. So it's a little bit more than the 20%, but it's still restricted and just a lot less. The number one type of intermittent fasting that I think is common in all type of fad diets and trends on social media is the one that's called time restricting. So this is when you have a prolonged nighttime fast. That's either going to be 12, 14, or 16 hours. It depends on the situation. So this is where you stop eating at 8 o'clock at night, you go to bed, and then you typically don't eat till maybe 11 o'clock in the morning is the most common intermittent fasting that I've seen. Now, I'm sure you've heard some of the claims for intermittent fasting, just like you have with the ketogenic diet. Some of the claims are it decreases your insulin levels, it has metabolic improvements, so that means that you're burning more energy quicker to help you lose weight. It allows the gut to rest, making it so your inflammation's decreased, causes weight loss, gives you a better night's sleep, and some people are even saying it helps you live longer. The list definitely goes on and on, but what do you really know is true? You know, it's not necessarily the best diet for everyone. So we're going to kind of dive in to see if it is going to be a diet for you. So if you are a woman who has diabetes, if you are childbearing age, pregnant, or breastfeeding, this diet is not recommended for you, just to make sure that is aware. So if you're someone who has any of those things, this is not going to be the diet that's going to be for you. So pros and cons of intermittent fasting. Some of the pros that we have for intermittent fasting is that people feel like they're in control. You know, I feel like there's a lot, especially nowadays with everything going on, we feel really out of control, very chaotic with our lives. So the intermittent fasting makes people feel like they're more in control because they get to choose when they want to restrict, when they want to eat, and so forth. So this makes it so people feel like there's more flexibility, freedom, and a sense of positivity in their life as well. So this also could be a really great way to help you if you find that you are someone who are snacking and eating from the moment that they wake up to the moment that they go to bed, and even those late nights, wake up in 2 in the morning and you go grab a snack. So the intermittent fasting kind of gives you some guidelines to set for yourself, and that could be really beneficial for you. If you're someone who finds that they are grazing all day long, just to give yourself that window might be of benefit for you. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So giving yourself a mental time when you stop snacking, when you aren't hungry, you know, kind of makes it so it could be really beneficial for you. So now we're going to kind of move on to the cons, or the not so great things about intermittent fasting. So in that modified intermittent fasting, people typically eat their first meal between 11 and 1. So they kind of are skipping right over breakfast is essentially what's happening with that type of intermittent fasting. Research has shown people who skip breakfast have a higher risk of developing obesity compared to those who eat 3 balanced meals throughout the day when they feel hungry. They're not, I have to eat at this time. They're listening to their bodies and so forth. So people who are skipping breakfast have been shown to have a higher risk of obesity. So some other possible side effects of intermittent fasting is persistent hunger. And I don't know about you, I don't like to feel hungry. After a good 30, 40 minutes, I definitely get pretty cranky and I'm like, okay, food is on my mind. I want to eat. And that's what I want to do right now. You also get really irritable, which goes hand in hand with feeling hungry. Some people actually get physically cold. Their energy becomes super low. A lot of distractions, which in turn leads to having lower work performance, and you could get written up or terminated at your workplace if you aren't performing well. When you restrict your body, you're chemically telling it to do something different when you actually allow yourself to eat. So one of the hormones called dopamine is a good hormone. So it gives us satisfaction when something happens in our life, it's released and it makes us feel good. So on intermittent fasting, you have the potential of releasing this hormone when you are eating because you haven't had it in so long and it feels so good to eat. So that makes it so that you're focused on the food more and you become like you eat more because you want to feel that more and you make more of a emotional and physically connection that you have with food. So this could potentially cause disordered eating or eating disorders again. So the eating disorder organizations report that this type of diet, the intermittent fasting, is unhealthy weight control behavior, and they do not recommend that if you have any sort of poor relationship with your diet. So I know that was a lot of information. We are going to be moving on to our last fad diet. So this is going to be the Paleo diet, which is also known as the caveman, Stone Age, or the warrior diet. So this is really popular right now. I have lots of clients who are asking me about this. So we're gonna dive right in. So what is it? The Paleo diet focuses on eating what our ancestors did thousands of years ago. So like back in the day, people were like hunters and gatherers because they didn't have all the technology and science and progression that we have nowadays. So they were only able to get what they physically could go and get. Some of the claims by the paleo diet are that it makes you healthier, helps you lose weight, and it even curbs disease. We live in a time where we're completely surrounded by disease. I'm sure everybody is affected by it in one way or another. And so we are in a time and people kind of want to go, all right, let's go back to simpler times and maybe that'll help because back then they didn't have all the disease. So people who are following this diet typically blame the way that we produce our food for the rapid spread of disease. And so they're saying to reverse it, to get back to the basics. So what can you eat in this diet? You know, like what did our ancestors eat back then? I wouldn't know for sure. But in the paleo diet, they are claiming that you can eat meat, fish, shellfish, poultry, eggs, vegetables, roots, fruits, and berries. So, all right, sounds like a good variety of everything. But that means you're not gonna have your pasta, your pizza, your ice cream. But more specifically, you're not gonna be having grains, dairy, any type of sugar, salt. You're not gonna have any beans, lentils, or peas. So if you kind of take a moment and think about what you eat on a day-to-day basis, this could be the majority of your diet would have to be eliminated. So that's something to take into consideration when you are maybe incorporating some of this into your lifestyle. Now, a lot of people talk about that claim that our food, the way we produce food is why we like react with so much disease. Now, I'm not saying the entire way we produce food isn't perfect, but there has been a vast amount of fat and salt and sugar added to everything available on the shelves at the grocery store. So this is something where I think we have lost, that we forgot the fundamentals of how food should be grown and how it is growing and where our food comes from. So this diet's kind of like a reminder of all of that. So the paleo diet pros. So this diet focuses on eating lots of fruits and vegetables. So this is awesome. This is something I can definitely get behind. Most Americans lack fruits and vegetables in their diet. The recommended amount of fruit every single day is 1.5 to 2 cups, and for vegetables is 2 to 3 cups. So that can fill up a good third to half of your diet as just fruits and vegetables. And I feel like most Americans, we don't get that. Fruits and vegetables provide you with so many good things that you need. They're packed full of something called fiber, that's good for your gut. They're also packed full of vitamins and minerals that we all need, especially during this time where we're all trying to prevent sickness. Increasing your fruits and vegetables will help you do that. Another positive of eating this paleo diet is that it is pretty plant-based. So those are those fruits and vegetables, and it's paired with some really good sources of protein. So pairing those together can make it so that your blood sugar is maintained and could help prevent type 2 diabetes. So if you're someone who's really struggling with your blood sugar, you're not quite there with diabetes, but you're right on the cusp, this might be something that you could try out that would work for you. This is because the fruit and vegetables eaten with a protein causes you to digest it slower. So it makes it so your blood sugar stays nice and maintained instead of spiking and from having a box full of crackers or a cupcake. There have been so many studies where the paleo diet decreases blood pressure and decreasing those bad fats that we were talking about before. So if you feel like you're someone who has those things kind of going on, this might be a diet that will work for you. So moving on. So some of the cons. So with all good, there is bad that comes with it. So some of the bad things about the paleo diet is that you are eliminating carbs, beans, lentils, and peas. Beans, lentils, and peas, I don't know about you, but they are a staple in my diet, and I'm very thankful to have them in my cabinets right now during this time. They have a great shelf life, they're inexpensive, and they provide you with all the good stuff. You can't really necessarily get all of these nutrients from other sources. So eliminating carbs, beans, lentils, and peas is kind of eliminating all the other good stuff too. So they are considered a plant protein. They're full of fiber. They're like nature's carbohydrate. They have iron, folate, magnesium, potassium, and some of the B vitamins. Whole grain carbohydrates have the whole potential of decreasing your risk of heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. So that's just something to be aware of if you think that you want to cut out all your carbs. They really do so much for you. Another con of this diet is that it really focuses on the high consumption of red meat, and this has been linked to the development of heart disease and obesity. So like I said, there's the good and the bad. There's a whole balance that you kind of have to find that works for you. So there are a few reasons why we don't eat like the caveman once did. Of course, I wasn't around for back then, but we don't have any wild game roaming around anymore. It wouldn't be easy for us to go out and hunt and get the meat that they had. And also, caveman life expectancy was 20 to 30 years. Our expectancy is at least 80 years old nowadays. So, I mean, it's good that we've progressed. We've improved our technology. We've figured out our science to make it so we can live longer. So that's another con, is that times have changed, and we have to progress with everything that's surrounding us. So something of concern when being on any type of diet, whether it be the keto, intermittent fasting, paleo diet, or something completely different, is the act of restricting a whole food group. So you don't want to cut out all of your fruit. You don't want to cut out all of your carbohydrates. this really could lead to disordered eating and eating disorders. I've mentioned this with all of my diets here. That's a really big component. What you're thinking with what you're eating really, really affects everything else in your life. So these diets could potentially develop a poor relationship with food. And food is our friend. Food fuels our bodies each and every day. Without it, we wouldn't be here. There should be no fear in what we consume. So collectively, there's little research saying that one diet is recommended over another. So that's kind of saying that they're all on an equal level of they don't necessarily work, but could be really good for you. It all depends on the situation. I can tell you, majority of the time, if someone who is overweight or obese changes something in their diet and their lifestyle, I can guarantee you that they're going to lose weight. They just might not be losing what they want, and it might be in an unhealthy way. So I would recommend meeting with a registered dietitian to discuss your current lifestyle to see if this is the type of diet that would be sustainable for you. Because like I've been saying this whole time, everything's so individualized, and we all have to make things accommodate for you. One blanket of a diet isn't going to work for everyone. I can guarantee that and tell you that time and time again. So moving forward, I want you to connect with me. I'm so happy that you've taken the time out of your day. I know that things have changed and most of us are stuck home. So I'm sure you're happy you had something to do this Friday, but I want you to try to connect with me. So I am currently scheduling new clients through virtual counseling. So it would kind of be the same concept through the computer so that you can stay safe in your homes and comfortable and have peace of mind that you're not having to meet with me somewhere. You can reach me by phone. My cell phone is right here on the screen. You can call or text me. You can also email me or connect with me through my website. That's mariansanswer.org. That is also on the page up here. If you want to subscribe to my nutrition blog, if you think maybe an appointment isn't for you, but you just want some nutrition tips and some information, kind of like this webinar, you could sign up for that. I send out a weekly nutrition blog. And I also have my recipe of the month. Upcoming, I'm not sure what I'm going to do this month. I was thinking maybe a homemade granola or yogurt pops. I'm not necessarily sure yet, but you can give me feedback. Hey, this is my favorite recipe. How can we make it a little bit healthier so I can enjoy it more often?
Your pancakes last month were awesome.
Yeah, did you get to try them?
I did, yeah.
Awesome, good. Yeah, so I've had banana muffins. I love muffins. I want to be eating a muffin often. So that was something I wanted to do. And then pancake mix. Who doesn't like to have pancakes on a Sunday morning? It's just making them so it's a little bit healthier so you can still enjoy the food that you love. Also, I do lots of nutrition tips and some giveaways on my Instagram and Facebook. So you can see my Instagram handle here. You can follow and like my pages to get involved with all of that. So I'm really here to help make nutrition a lot less confusing and help you reach your goals that you want to set for yourself and all that. So thank you for today. I really appreciate you. I know that was a lot of information kind of given to you all at once. I do have it open in some time for anybody's questions that I can try to answer for you.
We have about 10 questions.
Okay.
Let me just check in it if everyone's good to keep going. We've been going for about 40 minutes now. Does anyone need a break and come back, or should we just go ahead with the Q&A section? You can post in your chat if you want, and also check in with the interpreter. How are you doing? Are you okay to continue? Great. All right. Okay, ready for the questions?
Yes.
All right, we have a couple that are similar, so I'm going to combine them. But so you touched on this a little bit too. So what is the best diet for losing weight and like what is the best diet? So can you talk a little bit about like the best of anything?
Yeah. Um, I'm going to kind of sound like a broken record here, but everything is so individualized. It's unbelievably crazy how changing one thing for one person can make such a drastic weight loss, where changing that on another person isn't going to change. They're not going to lose any weight. One thing I would really want to focus on is increasing your fruits and vegetables, especially your vegetables. I give you a challenge. Sit back and reflect. If you take and you write down every time you eat a vegetable for the next 3 days, you'd probably be surprised at how little vegetables you're actually eating. So making sure that you have fruits and vegetables is really important, and that's going to help you lose weight. Also, fiber. Emily definitely knows this. I'm very big on fiber as a dietitian. It's good for your gut. It helps you stay full. So it makes it so you're not craving food, wanting to eat more. And so that helps you lose weight as well. And every time you eat fiber, you want to be drinking water. They kind of go hand in hand. So those are some quick tips on how you can lose weight. I would say focusing more on a plant-based type diet, not a vegan diet or anything like that, but more focusing on making sure that you're eating lots of plants. So fruits and vegetables, beans, grains would be beneficial as the best diet that there is out there.
Okay, great. Sorry guys about my dogs. Something set them off. I just had to quiet them down. All right. Okay, so another question. And this one's about registered dietitians. So how can I like pick one, or do I need a referral? How?
Yeah, so it really depends. You could use something called Health Prof. Is HEALTHPROF.com, and you can type in your zip code, and you can type in dietitian, and a list of dietitians in your local area will pop up. You could also ask your physician or your doctor who they recommend. Sometimes offices have people who they bring, and sometimes within your network, depending on your insurance and all that, they already have those dietitians ready for you. You just didn't know that they were there. You don't necessarily need one from a referral from your doctor. It depends if the dietitian accepts insurance or not, because some insurances require you to have a referral from a doctor. So it just kind of depends on what insurance plan you have, if you're paying out of pocket, and if your doctor thinks that you need one.
Okay, great. Let's see. Okay, can I diet when I'm pregnant, or how do I lose weight when I'm pregnant? And I think specifically the question was about restrictive dieting when pregnant.
Mm-hmm. I would not recommend restricting or dieting while pregnant. That could really affect the health of the baby. It is very natural to gain weight. You want to gain at least 35 pounds while pregnant, 25 to 35, depending on the situation and how much you weighed prior to the pregnancy. Restricting is only going to cause harm. I know as women, we're very self-conscious, and we have our body image is very important to us, and so it might be weird to be growing a child and be gaining weight, but just know it's very natural, and that's what our bodies are meant to do. I would not recommend restricting. You can just make healthier choices that it's going to make you feel better and not gain an absurd amount of weight during your pregnancy.
Okay, great. I've got a question for the intermittent fasting diet. Can I work out in a fasting state?
You can. It depends what type of workout and how long. So I know like fasted cardio is very popular. I know some people like to wake up in the morning and just start their workout. You can. I can tell you you're not going to reach your full potential doing that. I know sometimes people are like, well, it makes me feel sick. So you want to have something that's even small. So even just having like a glass of milk or a small banana before working out to help break that fast, to just give you immediate energy to be used so that you can reach your full potential. Now, I mean, if you're going to go for a 10-minute walk fasted, that's probably going to be fine. But if you're going to be running a couple miles or lifting weights, you definitely want to make sure that you're fueling your workout so that you're not breaking down the muscles that you're trying to be building, if that makes sense.
Okay, next question. Have you heard of OptiFast?
Can you say that again?
OptiFast. OPTIFAST, OptiFast. Are you familiar with that?
I have not. No. I am surprised day after day of all the nutrition things that I don't know. It's crazy. Is it like a company or is it like a fad diet?
Let's see, that question was from Karen. Karen, do you want to unmute and explain more about your question, or you can type it in the chat here? And we can actually come back to Karen if she wants to reply.
If it's a company, I could probably guarantee that they're selling pills or powder and they are just trying to make money and tell you that you need to have these things in order to lose weight, feel good, etc. I can guarantee that you can get all of those nutrients from whatever they're trying to sell you through your food, and your body's gonna like it better than having it in a powder or a pill. So if it is a company, I do apologize that I'm not aware of that company. There's a lot of different nutrition companies trying to sell things like that.
I just grabbed it online, Marianne. It's very low calorie behavior modification program with a few phases. OptiFast is a program with shakes. The daily total intake of the shakes is 800 to 1,000 calories a day.
Okay. So essentially it's just another diet saying that it's very low cal and that they're selling you one of their products to drink on the diet. Obviously I'm not up on it 100%, but restricting your calorie intake that much is going to put you in something called starvation mode, and it's going to make it so your body holds on to everything instead of losing weight. And so you might lose weight initially, but then you're going to start to plateau and potentially gain weight because your body doesn't know when it's going to get enough nutrients again. So it likes to hold on to it. So it's like when you're cold, you curl up into a blanket and you hold on to it to warm up. That's essentially what your body's doing every time you take a bite of food. Instead of putting it to use, to burn it, to keep going, to help you feel good, lose weight, it makes it so you hold on to it and you actually gain weight with a low calorie diet like that. I hope that helped with that question.
I think for not knowing what it was and being able to pull something together in 2 seconds was pretty good. Okay, how much water should I drink a day?
Okay, so I know everyone's like the 8 glasses of water, and I'm sure you've heard those recommendations. Again, you're gonna hate to hear this, but everything's individualized. This is something that I do with all my clients is I calculate how much water they need. On average, like an average woman needs about at least 80 ounces of water. So at least 5 to 6 water bottles a day. And for an adult man, I would say 6 to 7 water bottles a day. Just as a generalization, if you find that your urine is really clear, then you're drinking too much. And you also want to make sure that you're drinking water throughout the day and you're not just like, oh, at 2 o'clock, I'm going to chug a water bottle. Then at 8 o'clock at night, you chug another one, because you're not doing yourself any good. You immediately get rid of it in the bathroom. So it's better to drink a little bit throughout the whole day long and maintain hydration than to drink it all at once to compensate, because you're not going to do anything. You're just going to pee it out.
Made that mistake a few times.
We've all been there. I can't say I've never been like, oh, I'm so dehydrated and I chugged a water bottle and then I'm running to the bathroom. So
it always seems like, I mean, even with everything you've been saying about the diets, like whenever you like hyper focus on one thing, it always becomes to its own detriment.
yeah,
So if you're like, oh, sugar's bad, no fruit, well, there's your micronutrients. Or if you're like, oh, water, I need it all now, go, go, go. Well, there go your electrolytes. So
yeah. Nutrition seems to have become really confusing. And it shouldn't be. Nutrition should be simple and basic. And so that's why I do recommend, if you're having a lot of trouble, reach out to a dietitian. That's what we're here for. I feel like I'm really here to help make things simple and easy for you to understand, to help you reach whatever type of nutrition goal that you have.
I think a lot of people get confused too, because you can, well, everyone loves to just like read and try things on the internet, and there's just, all the diets you mentioned, they're out there online to download and try whatever. But what people don't realize, I think, is that in a state like New York, your profession's licensed, and it's, you're a registered dietitian, you have a license from the state.
Right.
And so
I was just going to say, we are credentialed. New York is one of the only states that's not licensed. So dietitians in other states have some extra letters.
Right. Certified, isn't it? Is it a certification or something?
Right. I'm like credentialed.
Credentialed, right. So it's funny, but it's like when you go, because I see a lot of times like you'll go and there'll be like some kind of fat burning, challenge or lose weight challenge or this or that. So, and they'll provide you with a macros list, or they'll provide you with what is essentially a prescribed diet. And they are in essence practicing without credentials.
Right.
So, I mean, that is, if you wouldn't just have your buddy who, read Black's law book represent you in court, which is practicing without a license, don't let someone prescribe your diet or prescribe macros. It's just, people focus on it now because it's important, but I don't think they realize how important I think people still feel like, oh, you can eat whatever you want. I'm just going to try this diet and I'll try this diet and I'll have, this or that. Right. But a lot of damage can be done long term.
People don't realize that if you do a certain diet and you do, some people, like I know some people who have done the keto diet for years and they physically cannot eat a carb because their body is so intolerant to it now, and so they can never enjoy that food again. And so that's sad for them. They don't have that same experience with food, and they're so restricted just because they wanted to try to lose weight fast at one point. So diets have so my slogan for my entire business is, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. Nothing's gonna work if it's a diet. If we all put our mics on, I'm sure all of us would be like, yeah, I've been on a diet, and that's why you're still here with me today, because it didn't work. You can go on diets over and over and over, but you don't want to live your life like that. You don't want to live your life being 80 years old and thinking back, oh, I've been on a diet since I was 16. So it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. Dietitians set you up to have a healthy lifestyle where you're living and you're not thinking about food. You're healthy, you're comfortable, you have a good relationship with it, and all that good stuff.
Okay, speaking of diets that we've all been on, here's a question about America's #1 diet. What is your opinion on Weight Watchers?
Weight Watchers actually just got a dietitian on their program. I have grown up in a household where family members have been on Weight Watchers, and back in the day, Weight Watchers definitely did not have a good foundation to be projecting the right nutrition to people, but they've definitely come a long way, and they have some really good points, and I can get behind at least like 70% of their concept of the diet. There are little hiccups, I think knowledge is power, and they're just touching on the surface of providing their participants with the knowledge on how to pick the right choices instead of just assigning points, where it's like, well, why are eggs this many points, and why are these ones free, and all of that. They're just touching upon that by they have a dietitian now on their program.
Okay, next one from Amanda. Apple cider vinegar. Tell us about it. Are the myths true? Is it magic?
Apple cider vinegar is a tough one.
I mean, it makes great dressings and marinades for sure.
Right. Yeah. There's so many claims, and right now there isn't a lot of science behind any of them for saying yay or nay. It's in this weird trial period. They need to do more scientific research on it. I would say it's nice to incorporate it into your weekly life, like you said, with a dressing. Do not take apple cider shots. Do not take the gummies. Do not take the pills. It's too acidic all at once, and it's just going to erode your esophagus or put a hole in your stomach lining. But
I've literally done all of those things.
no, I know apple cider vinegar was and still is very big. The reason why I didn't present on it today is because there isn't enough research saying yay or nay with things.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen apple cider vinegar help like esophagus issues, help get rid of the burning that was occurring. So sometimes you have heartburn and you don't feel it, and that's because there isn't enough acid in your stomach to digest the food. And so apple cider vinegar is a way to provide that acid to your stomach. So adding it on your dressings and in your sauces makes it so then you're digesting your food better. So essentially that could make it so you maintain your blood sugar and you feel full quicker. So that could potentially lead to weight loss. I don't know what claims you're particularly thinking about with that question, but definitely don't do a lot. Like maybe like a teaspoon a day, and in like a large amount. I don't know what form you were having it.
Amanda, if you want to add anything, you can unmute and expand if you want, but she just asked about apple cider myths.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot. I think, yeah, I've heard tons of them, that they can cure candida, that they can cure ulcers. They establish pH, that they can, cure cancer, prevent tumor, the works. I mean, everything crazy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends. Like with ulcers, it could potentially help with that, and it could also potentially cause it. So a natural incorporated into your food, if you want to start doing that weekly, I think that would be fine. Definitely don't want to do a lot all at once or an excessive amount. It's not going to make you lose more weight if you drink more of it.
Okay. Any other questions before we close out tonight? Good. This was incredibly beneficial. Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, thank you for having me. For some reason, I can't go back to, I have a reference slide.
Oh,
Oh, there it goes. And these are just some resources that I got my information from today's presentation.
So what we're going to do, guys, is this is recorded, and it's a pretty large file, so I've got to convert it to a URL. That takes a couple hours. So tomorrow I'll email everyone who registered the video recording, so you'll have a copy of the presentation. And then basically, keep checking out our webinars coming. Marianne and I talked about maybe doing something later this year for a couple of the themed months. So like maybe a diabetes workshop, or what else did we talk about? I feel like we did diabetes and
we had a healthy
immune system. Oh yeah, cardiac health, immune system.
If you guys have any suggestions that you really want me to focus on, just let Emily know, and I'd be more than happy to present on it.
Yeah. And you guys can find me at ThriveFit Coaching on Instagram and on Facebook, thrivefitcoaching.com. All of the webinars we do every month, the last Friday of the month at 6, are all always free because education and this type of content is really good. So if there's a topic you'd like to see, reach out. And with that, we'll close. Thank you to our interpreter, Giovanna Curtis. Thank you again, Marianne, for presenting this awesome info.
Yeah, thank you
And
so much for having me.
I hope everyone is healthy, and reach out if you need anything. And that's it. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.